Hi everyone, thank you very much for stopping by and returning to the old world. We've had the announcement on Warhammer Community. The latest stuff for Grand Cathay is coming up for pre-order. And we're getting, well, pretty much what we expected. We're getting a new Arcane Journal, 48-page booklet, and I'll come back to that in a moment. We're getting Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, to be a commander of the Cathayan forces, and then we're getting a bunch of models that had only previously been available as part of the battalion box set. So we're getting the Jade Warriors, which can be equipped either with hand weapons and shields or halberds, and we're getting the Jade Lancers. On top of that, we're seeing the Grand Cannon and Fire Rain rocket battery kit also becoming available. As an aside, there is also a model coming out for the Praeton, which is not for Cathay, that is for the Beastmen Brayherds. And now, this isn't a model I've not seen really many Beastmen army in the field. I've never heard of anyone even talking about using a Praeton, so I'm not sure how much viability that figure has. But that aside, should we be worried about Grand Cathay? Well, what do I mean by this? Well, we've already got, even from a pretty limited release from the first round of things, an army that is incredibly powerful. It's got really good artillery that can fire twice. So if you are looking at options to deal with the main threat that Cathay seems to bring at the moment, which are its Sky Lanterns, you're probably looking at artillery being one of your best choices for that. And it's got artillery which can effectively wipe out all yours if it goes first. So it offers a really big threat here. But it is the balloons which are the major issue. They're virtually impossible to pin down in combat. They've got scout moves. They've got really great bombing runs. They've got their machine guns on the baskets. They are just super good. And if you put characters in them, you make them tougher, you give them more wounds, their resilience is ridiculous. Now, there has been a bit of a balance to that, in that the core stuff, 500 points you need to take for Grand Cathay, is a little bit on the bang average side. True, Jade Warriors, I think they cost a couple of points less than a Bretonnian Foot Knight and are pretty much the same. They've got a reroll armor save, however, rerolling wands, which is pretty good when you've got a 4-up armor save. Rerolling those wands, quite tasty. And the cavalry, they're okay. Fighting 2 ranks is decent, but they lack the strength on the charge that other lance-armed cavalry would have. So there is a little bit of balance there. However, if you're facing off a bunch of guns and up to 5 lanterns, the core just kind of need to mop up and be there to a certain extent. Now, one of the big things I've heard chatted about online is how it would be really nice if the forces of Grand Cathay could actually have access to some missile troops, and that it would make sense from a lore perspective because, well, Cathay / ancient China made quite strong use of crossbows. And this is why I come into slightly being concerned, because now we're looking at this new Arcane Journal, the Dawn of the Storm Dragon. And this introduces a new Army of Infamy, the Jade Fleet. So this is described as a Cathayan force led by Miao Ying and supplemented by Empire mercenaries, along with some new magic items. Empire mercenaries. Now, let's face it, Empire core troops generally aren't amazing, but it does seem the thing that the Army of Cathay is crying out for is a little bit of missile fire. And if you can pack your core with missile troops from the Empire, crossbowmen, handgunners, whatever it is, then this does seem to mitigate the weakness you may have from your own core from Cathay. Now, my hope is that with the Jade Fleet Army of Infamy, we see real restrictions on the things that make Cathay great as a standalone force. So that there are hard limits on the number of Sky Lanterns. There's limits on the number of artillery pieces that can be taken. Because if not, why on earth would you take anything other than the Jade Fleet? Sure, Mao Ying's going to be really expensive points-wise, but even if she has to be taken, it's still going to be, I think, quite an upgrade to be able to tweak your core to something that's a little bit more effective. So at the moment, from what I've seen of Cathay, and I've only fought against them once, you've got artillery, which knocks out your big threats, or it certainly puts big holes in anything worth putting a cannonball-sized hole in. And the Sky Lanterns then pretty much mop up. The core just sit back and watch the show happen, pick up some passive points from any objectives they can take and things like that. If we're substituting that sit back, gain some passive points to sit back, gain passive points, and chuck a bunch of strength 4 shots into the mix, then I know which way I'd be going with that, and I think it does put another, if you'll excuse the pun, string to the bow of Grand Cathay. So should we be worried? Well, we know we don't get balance updates as often as things like Warhammer 40,000, for example, and it does sound like Grand Cathay is going to get a little bit of a boost potentially from this Army of Infamy. Now, I really hope that the reality proves me to be wrong on this, but I really hope we're not looking at a world where the latest new thing is just super, super powerful. We've not had it with any of the other factions, partly because, of course, all the main faction rules came out at the same time. We've not got this drip, drip, drip of ever more powerful in the way we have in other games Games Workshop have released. As I say, I really hope I'm wrong about this, and I hope the Army of Infamy for the Jade Fleet is not ridiculously powerful, but we can but wait and see. If you've got any comments around this, do let me know down in the comments below. Are you excited about the new Army of Infamy? Are you more interested in the new train generation or the new multiplayer games and the new scenarios that seem to be the direction Arcane Generals are going to be taken going forward? A few mix and match type forces, some mini scenarios, things like that. Do let me know, as I say, down in the comments below. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for listening. I am returned to the old world. Have a great day.